I saw it. I had never like worked on it specifically.
Yeah, I think now you will not even get a chance to work on it, because only thing is that you can get is, means if you are doing it on your own you can, but in projects I'm talking about, in real time projects, you will not get a chance to work on visual force page. The requirement could be something like this: we need to transform this vf page to lightning page. Okay,
Hmm.
so in that particular case, that could be a requirement, but it is not everywhere. Somewhere they have already started with lightning lwc, lightning aura. So in that particular case the transformation is not needed. They might have already moved. Very few cases still migration is going on. Most of the migrations, I think 60 to 70% of the organization have moved already to lwc. So not sure if the other guy is joining. Okay, he's not picking up the call. That's what Tarun is saying. He's trying to reach out to him. So
Yeah.
let's, the session is being recorded, so let's start with the introduction.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
So lightning came into existence almost 2015 or 2014 end, or in that period. Okay, in the beginning of 2015 it already came with its platform, like demo version, the beta version, beta testing, everything was going on. But I think it was launched in 2015 somewhere in the mid, and it basically, basic funda behind the development of lightning component was because of the web standards has already increased everywhere on the other platforms, and we were lacking with visual force component, which was not responsive. Like when I say responsive components, it's like based on the device it changes its size. If it's a mobile device it will basically shrink. If it's a laptop it will get expanded the size of the laptop. But same was not the case with visual force page, because many components like javascript and all those things which is needed for a component to be responsive was not present in that time. So there were a lot of customization need to be done to make it responsive by default. Means by default it was not there. To make it responsive you can use some lightning, not lightning, you can use the other things javascript to basically make the component responsive. So and other places, other applications on the other platforms were already became responsive. They were quite having the good UI as compared to the Lightning Classic. So let me,
So first Aura came, later Lightning LWC came, right?
yes, first Aura came. So we are starting with Lightning Aura. Okay. Can you see my screen? No, I think not yet.
No.
Can you see now?
Yes.
Okay. So here, if I, this is a classic version. This you are seeing is classic version. You have seen this before?
Yes.
Must have.
Yes.
Yeah, because just switching to classic, you can automatically switch to Lightning. Okay, sometimes if the something is not working, it automatically switch back to this classic version, and sometime it again move back. So
Yeah,
if I
yeah,
switch to,
like we have to do it sometime.
yeah, so this is the classic version, and in this development, everything was initially done with the Visual Force page. Now you can also place Lightning components in this as well, but for that you need to use Lightning out, and there is some fixed changes that need to be placed and follow the process to make the Lightning components usable in Visual Force page. So Visual Force page is like, if I go here on Lightning, every development, customized development, we don't have anything here. But if you create tables like this, these all things, these all things you can do with the all with the uh, Lightning Visual Force development. So if I go to a sales application, account pages, so these tables which I'm talking about, these things, all those things you can develop using Visual Force page. That was previously. Now in Lightning, if I switch to Lightning, it's completely different. Account page, yeah, this is how the Lightning page. If you're doing the development in Lightning, the table will be something visible like this. Okay, so it provides basic support, like the browser supports Lightning component more, and it becomes more responsive as compared to the your old Visual Force pages. Yes, so the old Visual Force page was not very responsive. In Visual Force page you cannot build multiple components on, like, we are building in Lightning LWC or a Lightning Aura, we can have multiple application on the same page, but that was not the case with the Visual Force page. So here, if I go and see, here is the detail page, and here is your contact, uh, activity, task, contact, email, events. So these all can be, like, for this, you can open this page and you can basically create a new event, okay, by keeping this page open. So let's say event is meeting, Date is 3rd July. Start date is 3rd July. End date is also 3rd July, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Okay. You can select some contact from here. Assigned to Ashish Kumar. Location Bangalore. So these things were missing, like the pop-up window which you are getting by keeping the existing page as it is. So these things all were missing with the Visualforce page. Okay. So the architecture of Visualforce page was basically your MVC architecture. When we talk about MVC architecture, what it is? You're aware of MVC architecture?
Yeah, I have heard about it.
So it's a standard designing of an application. So the architecture is designed based on this MVC. What happens in that? Let me open a notepad or a paint. Yeah, this would be fine. You can see the screen, right?
Yes.
So MVC, MVC architecture. In this, what happens? There is a interface, user interface, UI. Okay. Your user is behind the user interface, and here the user is connected with the view. Okay. View component of MVC. Here is the controller. And this is basically your model, the data model. Okay, this is the model. Now, whenever user interacts, okay, whenever there is a changes happening on the view where user is entering data and passing it something to the system, the view component will basically your UI component, the Visualforce page, will pass the data or call the controller. So it can pass the data directly to model like for reading, or it can, if it is a manipulation, data manipulation or something, view component will basically pass the data to the controller, and then controller will basically take some action. This controller was basically in Apex in Visualforce page. Also, we can use the JavaScript in that, but JavaScript was like embedded within the Visual Force component only you need to embed. And controller was something that an external controller that you can call in Visual Force page. So we can basically call one Apex class in Visual Force page, and that will basically act as a DML, like whatever DML changes we need, we can do based on that controller, this Apex controller. This will do the DML here, and will basically change the data in the backend. So this is nothing but our model or data model. In this data model is something like our database, right? We have different objects. So this view component, let's say if it is created on the account object, so we are just talking about the general architecture, it can use any object. In case of account, whenever the changes has happened, the account has a standard controller. It has a standard controller by itself in VF page. We can modify the changes if we want. If we are creating any new functionality, we can use custom controller. Custom controller will be a user created Apex class to do the changes on the backend, whereas standard controller was already provided by the system to do the update and everything. You cannot modify them. Any standard things you cannot modify. So view component will basically do the changes to the database through the controller, or if it has to read the data, it can directly read the data. So this was here, it can read the data directly. So okay,
Hmm.
and in our case, in this is for VF page. In Aura also similar thing is there, but we have two controllers. We have two controllers. Now this part Apex is already there. We have one more controller called as JavaScript controller. Or if we don't have the JavaScript controller yet, we yeah, in Aura we have two JavaScript controllers actually. That is, one is the controller and one is helper. Okay, so
Hmm.
helper is something we need to make use of when we are making some JavaScript code reusable, or in case of calling the Apex class also, we are making use of helper. But that is not the case always. You can make the call to the Apex controller through your first controller. So that is like in your, so let's create a separate diagram here. Okay, here is our, so Aura uses MVCC architecture. Aura has MVCC architecture. What is MVCC architecture? Model view, controller, where first controller is your Apex controller. First controller is your JavaScript controller. Second controller is your Apex controller. Okay. Here we have structure like this. Your user interface. Okay. It has some fields, and there is a save button. This is your UI. Now there's an echo at your side.
Now as well?
Uh,
I don't think so.
yes.
I'm not getting.
Basically, I think you are on speaker or something.
Yes, I am on speaker.
Okay, so in that case, your mic is picking up the voice, and that is why it's happening. So you can go on mute and you can unmute yourself when you have any question.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Okay, so this is the UI. Let's say this is a calculation, and here the field name is first number. There is some issue with my. And then we have second. This. Okay, let me just make use of this one. So this is your UI part. Then I'll basically mark it. Then we have a database here. Okay. So UI has multiple connections. It can be like this. Let's mark the area first. Okay, and this is your Salesforce database. This one has several fields. First number, and here it is a second number. Let's say. Okay, let's make a calculator. And we have a safe or calculate button here. Okay, so in Aura, we have backend controller, we have database, that is your data model. Apart from these, we also have the front end controller or the controller or component side controller, where we are having it. Let's say here we are having it. Okay, now all these numbers which we are having here, all these numbers, we pass it to component side controller, or we can pass it to backend controller through component side controller. Okay, so to pass anything to the backend Apex controller in in Aura component, we need to go through the component side controller. So here, let's say we have a connection here. We will pass everything.
But here only there is one controller. Is like MVCC. You said that two controller would be there, right? But here,
Two controller. This is component side controller. This is backend Apex is also server side
okay,
controller.
okay, got it.
Okay. So here with this we can do DML as well as we can do your queries. Okay, you can do the query, you can pull the data and display it on the UI. So these are the two function of a database. We are pushing it or we are pulling some data to view the data, right? And this is the Apex. So it can have multiple methods which will be basically helping you to do the DML or the SOQL query. Okay, so this is the UI for your front end and the lightning component, the view component or the component of the Aura component part of the Aura. So Aura component has a bundle which has a component, a controller, a helper, and a cascade style sheet. That is your styling sheet to do the formatting of the colors. Then we have your documentation, design, renderer, and SVG file for making the logo of this component or the application which you have. Okay, we will look into that. Don't worry about that. Right now, which we are things we are taking into consideration out of this 8 is your component part, that is your UI, and the controller part. Okay, out of 8 things which we are having in an Aura bundle, we are making use of these two things right now. Okay, so enter the first number, second number we have passed, and everything we are passing to the component side controller. Here, this component side controller can do the call based on the Apex, or there is something called as So I'm just trying to connect this to this. So let's say this way we can connect it. Okay, and from here, the database to back. Okay, what's happening here? In Lightning, we have something called as LDS or Lightning Data Service. What it does, it can basically manipulate the data in the backend without using the Apex class. Okay, or you can fetch the value from the data model or your database without using the Apex class. So that is basically a new functionality that has been provided in this framework or a framework. Using the LDS, you can make use to either to do the DML to the database or to pull the data to do query some data or display the data based on the Lightning Data Service. So this is something extra thing that we have got in Lightning Aura component.
Yeah,
And that,
so like on the component side controller to, we don't need to like go through Apex controller. We can
yes,
directly make the DML in the database, right, and
yeah,
get the result back.
yes. So you can directly do the changes from controller and deploy it to the database through LDS. Don't need to go to the Apex controller mandatorily. If in case there is some huge calculation that you need to make out, some different things you need to make a call or something, that particular case make use of the Apex, but only changes if you need to do or only reading if you need to do, make use of data LDS, Lightning Data Service.
Okay.
Okay, it has multiple components like view component, read component under the Lightning Data Service. So record edit page, record view page. Based on that, you can basically view the data or manipulate the data. Okay. This component side controller is basically your JavaScript. Backend is Apex. Okay. The architecture is clear till now.
Uh, yes, yes.
Okay. So this is the basic architecture for the Aura component. Now, the development in Classic we have seen, the development in Aura we have seen. There is one more way to develop the UI, that is based on using the LWC. Okay, so total 3 ways we can design the UI in Salesforce. One is Lightning Classic using the Visual Force page. Second, which we are going to see in these sessions, will be your Aura, and then the third way of developing the UI is LWC that we will see later.
Yeah, so component side controller here. So this example is Aura, right?
Yeah, this is Aura. In your LWC also, it's similar. Architecture is similar. Okay, LWC also architecture is similar. In that also, you don't need to call the backend always to do the DML. You can make use of a Lightning data service there as well. Okay.
Hmm.
There also backend very rarely, and that is why the performance of the Lightning pages has increased, like because of the LDS. You don't need to make call to the backend controller all the time. Whereas in Visual Force Space, there was like all the calculations on everything was has to be taken care by the uh, backend controller or the Visual Force Page controller. All right. Any other question?
No.
Okay. So this is basically your architecture. So let me save this and we will move on.
We'll leave like in 10, 12 minutes, I think, because I have to leave early little today.
Okay, no problem. 10 to 12 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can let me know whatever time. So we will continue till 8:55 then.
Yes.
Okay. So let me close this. So front end in our Aura framework, we are using Lightning. Then we are making use of Aura, HTML, and CSS for changing the front end. We are using Lightning Aura. Then we are using HTML. We are using CSS to design the front end. That is your the okay. You're not seeing this page.
Yes, so like how much knowledge should be there for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for learning the like LWC? How much I mean it is used in LWC?
So it's not much used. Means HTML is just a template language. It's not very tough for something. So what it is, see HTML. If you want to learn, you can learn it from W3 school. Very
Yeah,
uh,
HTML basics I know, but
yeah. So I think that would be sufficient. So you know the tags, right? Header tag.
I know few tags. Yeah.
You know this header tag.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
yeah those things. So the only thing is
But CSS I'm not very much. I think just like
CSS
very
is
basic,
easy. CSS is
very
very
basic.
simple. Yeah, so CSS is nothing. See, CSS is what? It is just you're giving some color to if you, to something. If you want to give the color to something, you're
Yeah,
making
but
use of.
that we can do with the JavaScript as well, right?
See, JavaScript is a controller. That with JavaScript, you're not making the color. You can make switch between the colors. Like the color and all everything, you have to store it somewhere in the CSS class. The switch between the color, if you want to make, let's say on click I want to switch it to different color, in that particular case you can make use of JavaScript. So all these things, everything is very vast. We don't have to learn everything. We are going to learn the core concepts, which will on based on that we can basically do the things. Okay, so now if you see here, the it has a body class. Okay, CSS has a body class which has a background color light blue, and h1 is also a class which has a color white. And here text align is center basically says that the header h1 class, when wherever it is used, it will basically align the text within that. So how it is used, to see this we need to implement HTML, and within that HTML these classes are already existing. the body is existing, the h1 is existing, the paragraph tag is existing. Okay, P stands for the paragraph tag. H1 stands for H1 to H6 is your header tag. Try it yourself. Okay. Here, if you see, I don't have. Okay, do I have the? Yeah, we have the HTML here. Okay, body is here. So HTML starts with your HTML doc type. Okay, this is a root of your HTML. Then it has, it's like a tree. So HTML is like a tree sort of structure. It has a DOM and it has a root element, that is your this one. Then in HTML, everything your code goes within your HTML, your main fundamental. Then in HTML you have two parts, your header part. Okay, in HTML you have two parts, your header part till here and your body part from here till here. Every HTML component will have this two part. You can keep both one of them as empty, it doesn't matter, but it has these two components, your head and the body. Okay, header part, mostly everything is invisible or something. I think these things, these logos and all, everything you can have within your header. Okay, even I am not very expert in HTML, so we don't need to learn HTML at the core, very core concepts. So only the basic things we should know, right? So we should not be the expert of this. So, but the structure is very similar. HTML and Aura, the structure is very similar. You don't need to learn everything from HTML. So if we'll go and learn everything from HTML, it will be like a separate session only. And then if I come from HTML to Aura, it's not very good thing. But basic things we are doing here is we should understand the structure. HTML has main HTML. In our Aura, we are having Aura component as our main. Within that, we can have multiple components. Okay, we don't have header and body like this in that. So here, if you see, to accommodate this style, CSS, they have used the style tag within the header. Okay, and every start tag has an end tag. This is the starting tag, and this is the end tag. It starts with the backslash. So everything you are starting, you are ending. Within that, whatever it is, this is the this is the style. Okay, this is your header. This is your, you're
Yeah.
seeing my screen, right?
Yes, yes. Because I was asking because CSS is very vast, right?
No,
That's why
CSS
I
is
was.
not very vast. CSS is not very vast. HTML, JavaScript is very fast. So these all things, everything you don't need to learn. See, first thing, Lightning Aura uses some CSS. Lightning LWC does not support CSS at a real level. Okay, it doesn't support the CSS, and that is why when we will learn LWC, we will see when we are creating the LWC component, at that particular time you're not generating a CSS file on its own. If you want to write the CSS, you are creating a CSS explicitly and adding it to the LWC component, and that too, it will function well or not, no guarantee.
Yeah,
So
right. But we can use predefined CSS class or something in the our JS, right?
yes,
Or
so predefined is your Lightning design service. That is your in everything Lightning, we have Salesforce Lightning Design System. So SLDS. It is Salesforce Lightning Design System or the Lightning Design System. Everything Salesforce has created and kept it for you as a library. Okay. So these things are basically your library for Lightning. There are multiple things like alignment. you can make use of this already existing class, these classes. Okay, this is for, so you need to make use of this div. Div is basically nothing but a division. It will basically add this class and align everything at absolute center. Here you are seeing everything is in absolute center. So
Yeah.
this content will be positioned in the absolute center of its container, and this is the container if. Okay, height.
Okay, I got it. And in the CSS, it's fine. What about JavaScript? JavaScript, how much? I mean, LWC uses, like, it's the
If
full JavaScript, or it's just few concept and few parts of JS is used in LWC. Like how
so
it is.
JavaScript it uses completely. Complete JavaScript it will use. But we are not going to learn completely. We will be seeing the basics, and everything that you want you can explore. So we will not, if we are exploring everything in this course, the course will be 1 year. We are not worried about applying the for loop, okay, or something like very deep concepts of JavaScript, because that will be basically everything you can explore. Everything you can explore if you know something. If you know how to move the data from your UI component to your LWC, and then you can apply everything here. Same, the HTML, CSS, JavaScript concept goes same for the your LWC or Aura. Mostly for LWC. These all concepts goes same for your LWC. Aura, it's bit different. Okay, bit different. You have a framework concepts. So component.get and component.set is mostly used to get the data from your component to your JavaScript, and your JavaScript to back to your component. So those things we will be seeing, all the basic concepts we will be seeing. So this is, the session is to make you aware of the platform. Once you're aware of the platform, you can do anything. So
Hmm.
every requirement is different. There will be different requirements. So how to call an Aura class or Apex class, those things we will try in our session.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Can we stop now, because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have.
we can end the session now. That's it for today. And we can end the session, no problem. Okay.